Hello and welcome to today's webinar entitled, Is Your Company a High Performance Organization? A few housekeeping items before we get started here. We just want to let everybody know that we have everybody muted for clear audio purposes. But if you have any questions during today's webinar, you can enter those in the question panel in the GoToWebinar control panel. And if you enter a question, we'll address it at the end of the session. You can enter those at any time. Our presenter today is Melissa Charles. She is the owner and CEO of Desert Leadership. Melissa started her career over 24 years ago working in sales for two large retailers. She spent her first 12 years building her skills in sales, auditing, customer service, and management, and the last 12 years include a vast amount of experience and knowledge within customer service, mortgage management, coaching, training, and employee development. Melissa has also traveled internationally to coach and train employees across the world. So, without any further introduction, I'm just going to throw it over to Melissa.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As Brian said, we will have a question and answer segment at the end, so please make sure to submit any questions that you have. I'd be happy to answer them. And if everybody's ready to go, let's go ahead and get started with your company. Is your company a high-performance organization? These are the things that we're going to cover in today's webinar. Know the difference between traditional and high performance. Understand the basic building blocks for high performance. Know how to build trust in your organization. Identify progress and first steps towards high performance. The difference between the traditional and high-performance work environment, why high-performance models work, and the challenges of moving to high performance. Now, when we talk about high performance, the first thing we really need to do is really kind of define what that is. And the definition is an organization that achieves outstanding results by making each person a contributing partner in the business. People understand the business and are committed to getting results, as well as people are organized into self-managing business units and teams. Teams take responsibility for decisions, problems, and continuous improvement. Now, your traditional versus your high-performance organization. Again, on the left side of the screen, what you're going to see is a traditional organization where they're internally focused. They're centralized in their structure and their bureaucracy. Planning and coordinating done by the management. Specialization in narrowly defined jobs. Standardization of performance. One best way to do a job. Uniformed and strictly enforced policies, do things by the book. Where in a high-performance organization, you're more customer-focused. You're decentralized structure with self-regulating work units. Planning and coordination done by work teams. Jobs are broadly defined and people possess multiple skills. There's many ways to achieve the same level of performance. The minimum rules, values, and common sense govern behavior. Here's some additional things between traditional organizations and high-performance organizations. Again, with traditional, you've got department boundaries determined by similarity of function. Training focused on technical skills. Rewards are based on individual performance. Employees viewed as tools of management. And, basically you have employees that are just, not very happy and kind of alienated with and just accept it as a given. Or in a high-performance organization, your department boundaries determined by task of interrelationship. Training focuses on total employee development, so business understanding, teamwork, interpersonal skills, personal development. Rewards are based on contributions of the teams instead of just an individual. Employees are viewed as partners. Quality of life of the employees is imperative to the company. Traditional paradigm, and I'm sure some of you have heard of this before, but it centralizes and focuses around several things, and that's specialization. Specialization on job trend tends to be focused, respected, and routine, making control of employees easier. Then you have standardization. There is always one best way to do a job, and employees should not really devote themselves to that. The standardization provides predictability and takes away from the individual motivation and really kind of gives new light to standardization. Division of labor. Employees who have the same job or skill are grouped together. They become loyal to their function skills group and don't see the big picture. Centralization. Decisions are made and controlled by a few key people at the top of the organization, ensuring central control and creating bureaucracy and inefficiency and inflexibility. Uniformity. Policies and procedures specifically that everything should be done exactly by the book. All people and situations are treated the same way. Then you have control. Management's rule is to control the speed of the work and how it gets done. Employees are viewed as tools that management uses to accomplish their objectives. Now, in a high-performance paradigm, the traditional paradigm and design practices no longer fit the demands of the challenging business world. To stay competitive, businesses need to organize themselves around the different paradigms. That paradigm is what we call the high-performance paradigm. So in the high-performance paradigm, what we have is shared purpose. The mission and values of the organization are clearly defined and understood by all. They serve as a guiding force for the decision-making and performance. Empowerment. People are viewed as partners in the business. Partners who want to contribute if given the opportunity to do so. Employees are empowered by the information, the training, the resources, and the authority to support and to solve problems, make decisions, and be fully responsible for their part in the business. So when you empower your employees, you're making them a part of the company's success. The holistic view. Work is designed in a way that allows people to do meaningful work and be responsible for the whole task or processes. All aspects of the work are integrated into the larger total of the system. Structure that fits the organization purpose. All aspects of the organization's design, including formal structure, workflow, processes, and systems, are aligned within each other, and the strategy, the mission, and the goals of the organization. Developmental management role. The role of management changes from controlling workers to coaching, providing resources, and managing the environment to create effectiveness in the employees. Again, we really go from controlling the employees and telling them what to do, to coaching them, to guiding them, to making sure that they are feeling like part of the team and are able to really take ownership in all aspects of their role and what they're helping provide. The customer focus, and this is, of course, a big reason why we're all in business today. Customer service is one of the most important principles. Everything is evaluated by the customer. This is a specific awareness of external and internal customer requirements and continual dialogue between the groups. Continuous learning, and this is a very important part of really any organization. Organizations that get ahead and stay ahead are constantly learning new skills, continually enhancing their capabilities. And this is something that I think sometimes we do lose focus in because, you know, again, we could be the best in the business, but if we're not constantly learning, constantly growing, we're really kind of going to fall behind because times are always changing. The high performance team. Again, this is a self-managing, multifunctional group of people organized around a whole process and empowered with full responsibility of their own successes. And when you look at your own organization, do you have what you feel is a high performance team? And these are very important to your success. Traditional to high performance leadership. In traditional management, we really go from directing and doing. So we really are solving it, being the yes man or yes woman, doing it yourself. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Over-directing and micromanaging. How many of us are having to really kind of over-direct our employees? We're really kind of micromanaging their day. Mandating goals. Expecting it, you can't do it without me type of attitude. To a high-performance leadership where we're developing and we're leading. We're facilitating problem solving. We're empowering others, helping others to learn from mistakes, providing leadership for goal setting and processes, developing technical confidence capabilities. You know, you can do it instead of me making that decision and saying, okay, well, you can't do it without me. Now I'm giving you the empowerment to know that you can do this. Also in the traditional management, you know, directing and doing, you're looking at, you know, being the quality judge and jury to what they're doing, playing the godlike role, you know, protecting your turf because you don't want your people to be as good as you are. Over-dependence on detailed policies, where when you're empowering and developing your people, you're being that quality coach. You're supporting as a helpful resource, linking teams to broaden the organizational systems and, you know, bridging those barriers, being tough and clear about the direction, the principles, and the boundaries. So we really kind of go from being that micromanager to really empowering our people and being the coach to seeing that they're building their skills and really kind of growing in their job and moving forward. Stages of organizational development. So really where everybody starts is really kind of in the chaos stage. You know, you have inconsistent results, you have crisis, you have short-term focuses, you're shifting priorities, lack of clear direction and goals, unclear policies and procedures. Your processes, your structures and systems are not in place. Lack of teamwork, inadequate people and resources to do what's necessary. You know, to be able to move to high performance, you have to move out of chaos and go into stability, where you have consistent performance results. You know, your basic processes, your structures and systems are finally moving and they're in place. Resources are adequate and they're in place. Clarity of the goals and directions for everybody is set and in place. The consistency and the priorities of the organization are clear and they're in place. Well-defined policies and procedures, again, they're clear and they're in place and there's no questioning, well, in this situation, what happens? What do I do? You know, we really don't have a clear definition of what it is I'm supposed to do now. In the stability stage, all of these things are in place. Then you move into the high performance, you know, where you get excellent performance results. You know, you've got growth of new business opportunities. excellent processes, structures, system alignment to strategy, high involvement and empowerment of your people. Respect for the people is a part of the culture, and it's a huge part to making sure that not only are you building and developing your people, but it's the cornerstone to building your organization. And there's good communication and information that's being shared. You know, in stages of the organizational development, to be successful, it's necessary to move from chaos to stability before you're trying to jump directly into high performance. And this means getting out of the reactive mode and going back to basics in order to create a stable working environment. You know, the two things that you kind of want to ask yourself is, how can this model help your organization's journey to high performance? And, you know, what things should an organization focus on to start the journey to high performance? How to achieve a win-win. You know, of course, the biggest thing to achieving in any situation is being able to listen empathetically. You know, and that's something that, you know, we all can at times struggle with, and some of us struggle a little bit more than others, but being able to listen is a huge thing that we all kind of have to sit back and go, okay, let me stop a minute. I need to listen to what's going on. You know, find out what is important to others. Agree on a clear and common goal, you know. So, you know, when you're listening, you're hearing what other people are saying, and you're finding out really kind of what the situation is and what's important to those people, and then being able to really kind of find that common goal. Avoid absolute statements. Involve others who are affected in the situation. Achieve, you know, more collaborative decision, consensus. You know, you want to make it to where everybody that's involved has a voice and is being heard, so that you guys can come together and figure out a way to make a decision that's going to work for everybody. Or at least so that everybody can say, okay, you know what, I can see that, we can do this, this is a good, you know, come together and we can achieve this. Test the trade-offs and the compromise for the agreement. Look for similarities and areas of commonality. Avoid potential win-lose situations or strategies. Think our problem, not my problem, not your problem, but it's our problem. And, you know, here's a big thing that I think sometimes we also lose sight of, and that's really the trust that we need to have in each other. And again, that's the confidence in your relationships with others. You know, we have to be able to not just trust ourselves, but we have to trust the people that are around us. And sometimes I think we lose focus in that, or we say, you know what, I just really can't trust Joe or Sue because they're not going to do the job that I would do. And that's something that you've got to make sure that you have within your teams, within your organization. What builds that trust? You know, that's acting with trust and confidence. Taking risks. You know, sometimes, you know, playing it safe isn't always the best way to kind of build and grow. Sometimes you've got to take those risks. Responding with respect and confidence. You know, even if in a situation you're kind of worried and you're not so confident, you need to represent that, you know what, you do believe in this and you're confident that that person or as a group, we can make something happen. The sense that others are honest with you. You know, we tend to sometimes, and I know I've seen this several times, you know, just think that people are being dishonest with us. And that's not necessarily the case. But we need to think about the bigger picture, and we need to have that sense that, you know, I can trust the people that are around me. I can trust my team. Be forgiving. the sense that others share, their vulnerabilities. That's not always something that's easy for people to do. And sometimes you have people that are very good at sharing that and others are not. So, within building trust, you're building that with each other. And when people trust each other, they trust each other with everything. And so they open up and they talk more, not just about business, but sometimes it's personal stuff. And that's how you build that trust and that confidence in the people that you work with. And making sure that you're responding with appreciation for what they're doing and how they're getting it done. The high performance model. As you see on the screen, to achieve high performance, you've got to have these 4 basic areas. You've got to have strategy, you've got to have team development, you've got to have the organizational assessment, and you need to have leadership and personal development. These are all 4 key cornerstones to building high performance. The transition planning model. Again, of course, we start with the current organization, the ideal high-performance organization that we want to go to, and then third, we're going to be analyzing and understanding the current organization, identifying the ideal high-performance characteristics that we want to go to, and identify the steps and action plans that we're going to make and achieve to get us to that high performance. The transformation model, again, is pretty clear where we start. We've got the environment. And, as you can see through the arrows, we go through strategy, the core process, the structure, the systems, the culture. And as we move through all these things, hopefully we're going to come to the results. So again, the transformation model really provides a framework for viewing an organization as a living system. By using the model, leaders can see how the pieces of the organization fit together and how, they can make consistent choices about how they're going to improve their effectiveness. The model reduces organization complexity. I can't even speak today, my apologies. Complexity to 7 key elements. Again, that's going to be your environment, your strategy, your core process, your structure, your system, your culture, and your results. The several elements are viewed as a whole system, as parts that makes everything fit together and to be closely coordinated with the organization to be successful. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is, again, our environment. Organizations can survive only to the extent that they maintain the harmony within their external environment. They must, meet challenges in customer requirements, adapt to new technologies, adjust to the competition, and consider the legal, social, and political demands. Most organizations eventually die because they fail to respond quickly enough to the changing environment around them. So again, we want to look at our current market conditions. We want to look at what our key customers are, who our key suppliers are, who our key competitors are, who our key stakeholders are. The external influencing factors, the market, the environment, and the technology assumptions. With the strategy, there are 2 kinds of strategies. There's the business and the organizational strategy. Business strategy identifies the direction and the purpose of the organization. Specifying products and services, market position, how the company differentiates itself, from the competitors, from the core competencies and the objective areas. Having a well-developed business strategy provides direction and really guides the organization, like, a ship's rudder in a storm. If you don't have something to guide you, you're really just going to kind of toss and turn all over the place. Again, so with business, what business are you in? What are the core competencies? What is the current market position? Performance against, key success factors, current strategy focuses, current objectives and goals. Your organization, what's your current mission? What is it that you are really there to do? What are your guiding principles? What is the sense of shared vision? What is the current management philosophy? When you step back, can you honestly say that you know all of those things within your organization? Your core process is just as important as well, because the core process is the major flow of work through an organization. Sometimes it's called the value chain. It is the sequence of events or steps performed by the organization to achieve its strategy and provide products and services to the customers. When aligned with a strategy, all other business activities should support its accomplishment. Streamlining and properly supporting the core business process is the central job in any organization. Again, we've got our core processes. Key process variances, computer delivery systems, support processes, process cycle time and efficiency. Now, our structure is just as important as well, and your structure determines how people are organized around the core business process. It moves from beyond the box chart, identifying the boundaries between units, responsibilities, and relationships between people. Future coordination of tasks and allocation of resources to units within the organization. The proper question about structure is not, whether it is the right one, but whether it supports the strategy. And it, really helps rather than hinders the performance. So again, you've got organizational chart and reporting of relationships. Span of control, linking, things together, organizational levels and staffing numbers, really kind of just knowing, what's going on, where you are, who's reporting to who, making sure that you've got the amount of staff that you need, your current groupings. The job and role structures, are the people in the job doing the things that they need to do for that specific job. Next is our systems, and this is really kind of an important part as well, because your systems, are the standardized supports to help the organization coordinate and organize itself. There are two kinds. There's the coordination systems, and, having a good system is really important. So with coordination, we've got communication and information sharing, decision-making and authorization, measurement and feedback, setting goals, and making sure our policies and procedures. Then we have the development of the system, such as recruitment and selection, orientation, the training, the development, making sure that you have progression and promotion. Performance evaluation and feedback is always important. Again, your compensation, your recognition of things that are going on, from a team level to management and so forth. It's recognition as a group, not just as an individual. So what is culture? It is the set of shared attributes, beliefs, practices of members within the organization. Culture can be observed with organization members that translate core beliefs into everyday attributes and practices regarding work, management, customers, and fellow employees. Culture is not easy to change, as you can, influence it, but it does not lend itself to quick fixes. And that's the thing that, as you start to see the culture, you have to really see, is that the culture that fits the organization? Work culture norms. Job satisfaction is important to making sure that the people doing the job are satisfied with what they're doing and that you're satisfied with the performances. Management attributes, behaviors, beliefs. The general morale. How is your general morale within your organization? Worker attributes, behaviors, beliefs. Going a little fast there, sorry. Then we've got results. Again, you're coming to the results, and after you've looked at each one of these, areas, what is the organization's current performance? The results define the successes or the health of an organization, and therefore starting point for the understanding of how well the organization is functioning. Results indicate where the organization is strong, where it's weak, and what really needs to change. Everything is tied to the result. So, again, you're looking at current key result areas, your current measurement and tracking system, resource inventory, equipment, capital, your manpower, your technology, your current financials, your revenue, your cost structure. So as you, really look at all of these things, it really kind of gives you an idea of where your organization is and your strong points and your weak points and things that you need to work to really get yourself to working as a high-performance organization. So that's pretty much all that I have for the PowerPoint slide. So I'm very anxious to go to our questions. So do we have any questions, Brian?
Yeah, we've had a couple that have come in, and I just want to remind everybody, if you join late, that if you do have questions, you can enter them in the question panel and go to Webinar Control Panel, and we'll get to those in the order that they come in. This first one here, this concerns something you just mentioned, and I know even though it's a process, is there let me try this again. The question is, what's the best way to institute change in organizational culture? Like, what might be some first steps that you would take?
Well, when you decide that, or you really look at what's going on and decide, okay, we really need to change what's going on because either it's not working or, just from, an environment you have to change. It's best to sit down and really focus on what it is you're wanting to change. And if, let's say, it's the way that, employees are doing something, or really just a process in general, it's best to come up with a plan of what it is you want to change, how you plan on doing that. Once you come up with your basic structure of the change, your best thing to do, and to get people to really rally behind what it is you're wanting to do, is you've got to go to your employees and you've got to sit down and really kind of just tell them what's going on and what it is that you're wanting to do, and that we have some changes. Here's really kind of our vision as to what we want to accomplish. Now, my question to you is, how are you guys going to help us achieve this goal? Because when you include your staff behind your vision, and they can see how confident you are in that vision, really getting them to help you do that is a huge thing, because people, every time you tell somebody something's going to change, most of the time I think we see that people are just like, change, really? Why do I have to do that? Everything's working just fine the way it is. So you really have to rally them around your vision of what it is that we need to accomplish, and then get them to help you accomplish that. Get their feedback, get their, buy-in on it. And when you do that, you're going to find people are going to be more excited about the change. So that's really kind of the first step in implementing change.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great answer. Here's another one. This one's from Cassie, and her question is, how can I present goals to my employees while avoiding overdirection or micromanagement?
Again, I think it's a lot of, getting them behind what it is that you're trying to do. It's really, even in goal setting, showing them the vision of what it is you're trying to accomplish. I'm a firm believer, because I've witnessed it and I've done it many times, where I've had, staff that are just like, when you mention change, or you mention the fact that their goals are changing, or now they've got goals where they didn't before, they're like, they get at times very kind of upset at the fact that now they're going to be made to do something that they don't know that they have confidence in doing. And it really comes back to the same thing. When you get them to see your vision, get them to be confident in what you're telling them, and you do that by getting their opinion. You really empower them and make them a part of that process. You're going to really get them behind what it is that you're wanting them to do. And they're saying, okay, you're not just selling me on this. It's literally, they start to see your vision. And when you include them instead of managing them, the whole atmosphere will start to change. And people will be more behind something that they were, dead set against at the beginning.
Excellent. Okay, great. Here's another one. This one's from Mike, and he says, I have ongoing issues with employee egos. Do you have any tips on how to move them into a more team-oriented or high-performance mode?
Really your first step, especially when you don't necessarily, even though people are a part of a team, they still kind of work individually, and you're trying to change that from an individual thing to kind of a team atmosphere. You really have to get everyone together and let them know what the vision is for the team and how everybody plays a part in making this team work. And it's not one person that's going to lead a team. It's every person involved in that team. So whether you've got 4 people, 3 people, 10 people, they start to see that they're working as a unit. Instead of just Sally being the top one or Joe, they're going to start to see that while Sally and Joe play a huge part in that team, they're not the only ones that are going to make that team successful. And they start to kind of realize that they have to start working together, kind of build that trust. And if you find that you still kind of have 1 or 2 people that, have egos because maybe they were doing more than the other 4 or 5 people on their team, you might have to pull them aside and have individual conversations, and just let them know kind of what the vision is for the organization, what everybody, what we're trying to achieve, and really what their part is in achieving that goal. And sometimes you might have to end up managing the situation more than probably what you would like to. But again, it just depends on the situation. And I've pretty much found in most situations, whether they're really ugly or not, that when you include people in the decision process and you really show them that they're key to the success, that they will kind of start to work towards the common goal instead of just thinking about what's good for themselves.
Great. And as you were kind of talking about this empowering employees, there's a question here from Matt, and he asked, can too much empowerment lead to problems with employees? In other words, is there a flip side to that method?
Well, I really haven't seen like a negative side to it. I guess there probably could be if somebody kind of really starts to feel too empowered. I guess there could be a negative side to it, but I know for myself in managing the teams that I've had, I want people to think that I'm the best, and the way that people are going to view what it is that I do and view me as, a great leader is making sure that my people are great. And the way to do that is making sure that they are empowered in their positions and that they're getting the coaching and the training and they have the resources to improve what they're doing. And, really learning is the key. I mean, I want my people to be just as successful, if not more successful than I am, because to me, when I have a team or I have multiple teams, whatever the situation is, I feel like I'm only successful as the people underneath me. So if I've got, people that maybe started at a certain level and now they've rose above that level 3 and 4 times, you can have situations where people kind of start to get kind of egos about it, I guess. But, most of the time people are just so, I don't want to say grateful, but they are grateful for opportunities. I mean, people, you're not going to find people that just want to be in a job to be in a job. I mean, most people want to grow and learn and be able to move forward. And, the hopes that, just like what you would. So, I want my teams, my individuals to be more successful than I am, because to me, that shows that I have great success. So I really haven't seen in my years of doing this that, somebody's gotten out of hand. I know there can be kind of, too much ego boosting, but I think at that point you just really have to probably have an individual conversation with somebody if their egos get a little too out of control.
Absolutely. I just want to remind everybody that if you do have any questions, we've got time for a few more. You can enter them on the question panel on GoToWebinar. And this next one is from Ian, and he's asking about organizational assessment. He said, is that something that can be done internally, or is it better to bring in someone from the outside to do an assessment of the organization?
Well, I think honestly, it probably would be good to bring somebody in to kind of help you assess what's going on, just because sometimes, having an independent third person to really kind of come in and look at your organization, be able to get a better look at different positions and really what goes on and how things are working is probably more helpful, because if you think about it, sometimes you are within your organization and you don't always necessarily see or know how to fix certain situations. Assessing your organization is a process of knowing kind of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, to really how to figure out how to align your issues to really individually look at them and figure out what's going on. And sometimes you don't always have the manpower to do that. So, I kind of believe it's good to always bring in another set of eyes to look at it that maybe, that's not in the organization, because they're going to be more of a middle of the road person that's going to be able to really assess, okay, here's the weaknesses of what's going on, here's your successes, your strengths. So how are we going to align it so that your weaknesses become strengths? So, to me, it would be more beneficial to bring a third person into doing that.
Okay, great. Let's see, we got another one here. This one's from Jeff. And he asks, could you explain a little more about what constitutes a win-win situation?
Well, I think with anything, making sure that both sides are coming to an understanding of, what's going to work best for the organization. A lot of times when we hear things are changing, or we know things are going to change, we tend to, as individuals, we tend to think of one thing. What's this mean to me? How's this going to affect me? And, we tend to lose sight of the fact that we work in an organization, and because we do that, it's what's best for the organization. So, creating a win-win is, for example, let's say, you've got conflict going on, and, you need to be able to have people kind of stop fighting over silly things and start looking at the big picture. So how do you do that? You get these two people together to try and individually talk things through and, come to a common ground. And sometimes you have to bring a third person in, like, a manager or, a leader, to really sit down and hear, okay, well, this is Bob's side, there's Sally's side. Okay, I can see both sides, but have you guys thought about how you're going to get past that? And really just try to open up people's minds to seeing that there's always your way, another way, and then there's the middle of the roadway to get something done. And, creating a win-win is when you do have things like conflict, and you can set aside the differences and focus on common areas together that the individuals or the group can say, okay, well, I really wanted things this way, or I wanted it this way, but, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to say, let's come up with something together that's going to work to make this move forward. And that, that's really how you create a win-win, because each side is putting aside their thought process and coming together to create something new that everybody can agree on to move forward.
Great. Let's see. We got time for a couple more here, and I'm going to go with this one from Deborah. She says, my leadership team has some major trust issues that have developed. What steps can I start taking to kind of resolve and start building trust?
Well, if you've got people or you've got teams that just really don't trust each other, you really kind of have to look at each individual person and figure out why they're not able to trust each other. Are there underlying things between specific individuals, or is it just plain and simple, each person doesn't realize they're part of this team and they need to work together? So you really have to look at the teams individually to figure out where the breakdown in that communication is. Once you do that, then it's really about having, sometimes you have to have individual conversations, but getting the teams together and, having communication between them, trying to bridge their differences to working together. Because a lot of times people don't trust other people because they think that they're kind of going after what they want. You know, because again, like I said, when it comes down to everything, I mean, we think with our emotions. You know, we are worried about one person, and that's ourselves. And, you know, we may think, okay, the big picture is a corporation, but here's the problem is that, you know, I want to move forward. I want to be the best I can be and be able to move forward and climb that corporate ladder. But they lose sight of the fact that part of that is being able to work with individuals, be able to have that teamwork, have that trust with the people that you work with. And that really comes from communication and making sure that if there are any differences, you're bridging those gaps. And by doing that is communication between individuals and with the team itself.
Wonderful. Got time for just a couple more. I've got one that came in here from Veronica. She says she's in an organization where the structure seems to be constantly changing. In your opinion, do you think that's going to be a major hindrance to achieving high performance?
I think it can be. I mean, obviously, you know, there's change in everything we do. Nothing's ever going to stay the same. I mean, organizations are going to constantly be changing because they have to change with the times. But making sure that you have the structure in place so that when change is happening is a huge thing. If you have an organization that's constantly changing, your employees are going to start to lose, you know, confidence if, you know, management or leadership is constantly coming to them saying, okay, we're changing this, but they're not really communicating with the individuals. They're not sharing the vision of what we're changing and getting buy-in on how to make that change. And again, that's all about structure and communication. Change is never going to be a fun thing for anybody, and you're always going to have changes because people may decide, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, and then get into it and realize that that change that they made really just isn't working for whatever the situation, so they're going to have to change it again. But making sure that there is good, open communication at every step of the change is vital to making sure that the change is being implemented and people will continue on the new steps, because what you're going to find is people like to stay with what they know. So if you don't get them to see that vision and get them behind what it is that you're trying to do, they're just going to go back to doing what worked before because it's comfortable, they know it, and that's just what's easy for them. Nobody's really ever going to step up and say, yay, change. You have to really rally them behind that and doing that and seeing that vision.
Absolutely. Melissa, let me ask you, if anybody wants to know more about this topic or any of the concepts, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, of course, you are welcome to call me or email me at melissa@desertleadership.com. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions. Also, please go to my website at www.desertleadership.com. You can also hear webinars that I've previously done or this one on my website, as well as you can follow me on YouTube and also on LinkedIn and Twitter. And if you do have any other questions, please feel free to give me a call or email me. I'd be happy to answer anything anybody has.
Great. It looks like we're about at the end of our hour today. I'd just like to thank everybody for their attendance. And Melissa, I'd like to thank you for the presentation. I think it's been great.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it and look forward to seeing everybody soon.
All right. Have a good afternoon.